Hello, good morning. Welcome back to my channel. I am here at the track today and I am bringing you through everything you need to know about running. I am already regretting not bringing sunglasses and I am a bit caught up with hay fever today, so please ignore the bit of a nasally sound if that is there, but let's get into the nit and grit of things. I think today's video is going to help everybody no matter what level you are at. The tips I share today are tips that have helped me since I was a beginner runner at the very start, and it is going to help you if you are just starting out for the very first time, you are very new to running, or even if you are very intermediate advanced, you're trying to improve your speed, you're trying to improve your technique, all of those good things. This can benefit a lot of people. Running is something I am just constantly learning about, and it still just shocks me, all of the things that are involved with it. But yeah, everything I'm going through with you today, majority of it I did not even learn until I started training for my first marathon this past year. So yeah, no gatekeeping. Let's tell you everything you need to know. Okay, just a quick move because the sun was absolutely wrecking my head over there. But number one, by far one of the most important things are your shoes. Do not even go outside in a pair of Nike Air Force because you are just screaming for an injury. And I know at the very start of your running journey it can be really expensive and it seems like a lot of money, but I promise you it is beyond worth the investment. If you are running in the wrong shoes, you are literally increasing your risk of injury by I don't even know how much percentage, and it's just going to set you back too, and that's the last thing we want. The good thing is they will put you on a treadmill, they will look at your run, they will look at your foot and pick the perfect shoe for you. They looked at my pronation, they looked at the size of my foot, they looked at the width of my foot, all of those good things, and they were able to tell me what shoe I needed. And this is really important. For example, when I started out, I used to roll my ankle inwards, and then that was just causing me injury. It was like shooting up my leg, but with the right shoe, it was able to help me, it was able to push me back out the other way. So it is so important. So definitely check out your local run store and they will help you out. Now, bear in mind your shoes also have a lifespan. So if you have been running in the same pair of shoes for years, it is very possible that they have outlived themselves. So if the cushioning is just kind of gone in them, they're a bit dead in them, it's going to start causing you injuries. And they say there's like 300 miles on a shoe, but of course we're not always counting that. So you can just see it by a general wear and tear of the shoe. If you're starting to get that rip in the back of the shoe, or the bottom of the sole is getting quite worn, you just have a couple of indicators there. And of course, if you are starting to get like shin splints, if there is some niggle starting to come in, that is all indicators that the shoe may have outlived itself. Now, I currently have two shoes in rotation. I have a fast shoe and an everyday running shoe. Now, I know that that is not always realistic for people, especially if you're just beginning running journey. You don't need that. You don't need a whole rotation going on. I know that like other athletes have multiple shoes in rotation, so it's not totally necessary. But for me, what I'm doing right now, just from a marathon training, I had a fast shoe, a race shoe, which had a carbon plate that pushed me forward, but these are not an everyday shoe because they don't have the same support that a regular shoe would have. So then I do have a cushioning shoe that I just use in my everyday training, so those would be for my long runs, and then my fast shoes are for my tempo, my interval runs, and a race day. Something I do think that really gets overlooked is socks, and socks are so important. If you are getting blisters, it's literally from the irritation of your sock rubbing against your foot. But if you have the right socks that are just holding you, you are really decreasing your chance of blisters. So if you are blistering, it's not actually always the shoe's fault. It can really be down to your socks as well. So make sure you're actually getting running socks. I will never run in cotton socks. They will give me blisters and they will also too hot and heavy. They're not the same, so definitely look into investing in proper pair of socks as well. Number two is your warm-up. I definitely used to be a gal who would just get up, go and run, and I'm telling you, any time I injured myself are the times I did not warm up properly. You need to prime your body. You can't just wake up stiff and go, and this goes for any style of training, but in particular with running. When I started giving all of my warm-ups time and attention, that is when everything decreased. So what my warm-up does look like is I will roll out my full lower body. I have those tight spots in my tib here in the front of my shin. I also have tight hips and glutes, so I really really give them attention rolling those out. And then I will go into dynamic warm-up. So that is your classic warm-up, and I will end it in some activation drills. So just making sure that my body is fully warmed up, ready to go, things are turned on, and then I can run with ease. So please stop saying you don't have time. You do have time to warm up and go. So please just add that extra time into your training sessions. Okay, one of the most common mistakes I see is people dying on their runs. They are gasping for air. They are so out of breath. They are literally hyperventilating. Their heart rate's at 200 beats per minute. That is not okay, and that is not normal. I don't know why when it comes to running, but we all just think we need to get out and go and run for our lives. That is absolutely not the case, and it's actually not going to help improve we do not go into a gym and just put 200 pounds straight on a bar and try to lift it. Like, one, that's going to knock my ego. I'm not going to be able to lift it right away. My form is going to be shitty. So why do we do the same with running? I do not know. But slow down. And even if this brings you to a pace that you really feel like you're walking, that is okay. This is going to be good for your heart rate. It is going to be good for your training, that you're bringing it down to a lower zone, and it is going to increase your speed overall down the line. And more importantly, it's actually going to make it way more enjoyable. The majority of the time when people hate running, it's because you feel like that. Nobody likes to feel that way. It's not a good sense of accomplishment. You just feel a bit shitty about yourself. And that's when you come back from a run and you're like, oh, I can't run. I'm shit at that. I can't do it. Yeah, because you're running for dear life. Slow down, make it enjoyable, and I promise you will improve your speed. That does bring me into the next one of improving your speed. So this was a big learning curve for me during my marathon training, because if you want to improve your speed, like I touched on, you need to go low heart rate training zones. But the absolute game changer for me was interval sessions and my tempo sessions. So an interval session is a typical sprint kind of run. So I was doing them on 12% incline treadmill. I was doing 30 seconds sprint, 30 seconds rest. Of course, working on my speed. Number 2 is tempo training. And by the end of my marathon training, I was like, I would rather run 30 kilometers than do my tempo runs. They are 10 times harder. So what that looks like is you have a run trying to go as fast as you can, not so much a sprint, like a decently comfortable enough pace. You're not at that conversation pace, you are pushing it, but you're going for time. So for example, I would do 2 minutes fast tempo run, and then maybe a 2-minute recovery, and then you keep repeating. And again, that is improving my speed. Less is more. When it comes to running, you think you just need to train every single day. And again, no, you're going to get injured. I actually found less is more. When I was training for my marathon, I only did 3 days a week. That was only 1 long run and 2 speed days. The benefits of that spoke for themselves, because I did such a good full marathon and I crushed my time that I thought I was going to do. I actually took 15 minutes off the time I wanted to do, and that is down to those speed days. So if you want to improve your speed, that's what we got to work on, okay? Okay, next up we got technique. Technique is definitely something I didn't actually consider for a long time in my running journey, but it is really important. Again, because of injury. I sound like a broken record by now, but injury in running is just so easily happens if the slightest thing is off. So your technique is really, really important, and your form. Honestly, like anything, if I'm doing a deadlift and my back is rounded, I am going to hurt my back. It's the same thing with running. If I'm running and my foot is hitting the ground wrong, then I'm going to cause some knee pain or hip pain. So a first really common one that I see often is heel striking. And this is a cause of a lot of shin splints. It is just simply your heel hitting the ground with a lot of force. It is coming down at the ground first before any other part of your foot. It's hitting, it's going to pull straight up the shins, and it is going to cause you some shin splints. This is also a clear sign as well that you are overstriding and you're pushing your foot too far forward. What you want to look out for and what you do want to do is actually hit the ground with your mid-foot, slowly pushing the legs. And if you are hit landing mid-foot, it is always a sign, also a sign that you are landing with your foot right underneath your body. You never want your foot to be too far in front of you. You never want your heel to be hitting first. You actually want everything nice in line right under the hip and your foot hitting the ground, your mid-foot hitting the ground first. I actually found that once I mastered that technique, there was a lot more like bounce in my run. I was able to kind of like propel forward that little bit more and just get a little bit more bounce out of my foot position. Next thing is your upper body. Make sure you are running nice and relaxed. There is no point you tensing up your traps and tensing your upper body. you are going to be sore the next day in your upper body. Keep it relaxed. Roll your shoulders down away from the ears. Give them a little loosen up. Shake them out every now and again as a little reminder, and just make sure they are moving nicely. Okay, what to use to track your runs and track your pace. I actually only very recently bought a Garmin. I did not run my half marathon nor my full marathon with a watch, which is a bit crazy now that I think of it. So I used Strava, the free app, nothing fancy. It tracks your GPS. It is free. I love it. It maps your runs. Genuinely nothing fancy about it. Now, one thing I will say, and the reason I bought the Garmin was for a couple of different reasons, like the sleep and all that other stuff, but run related, I wanted a more. So with Strava, it does only tell you your average pace. So when I ran my full marathon, it always, like if I checked it during the marathon, it would just say like 5:20 pace or something, but that wasn't the actual pace I was doing. And I realized that in my splits at the end, like there was parts that I was getting to like a 6:30 pace, and I didn't know because my average was still like 5 something. So inside, if I knew that, I probably would have picked up the pace a little bit more. But that's why I bought the Garmin. And when I ran a half marathon in June. I loved having the accurate pace because it really pushed me to the next level. I was able to see if my pace was dropping and if I could push it a little bit more. It was like exact to the second, and that is why I liked it. I wouldn't say an absolute must, especially if you're just starting out in your running journey. Just little things like that can help if you are into the data side of things and you like looking at that. Okay, and last but not least, not again an essential, but I would highly consider getting a structured program for you. There are a lot of training plans out there that are very generic and they're like one size fits all, but I disagree with them, to be totally honest with you. You do not know what your body needs. For example, for me, if I did that generic run plan, it was too much kilometers, it was too much distance, it was too much of my body, it was causing me injury. What I actually needed was like a prehab program to strengthen my weakened areas. For me, it was my hamstrings and my adductors. I had to strengthen those bad boys up. For you, that not might be the case at all. You might be absolutely fine in those areas. Maybe it's your calves, maybe it's your hips. Those things are so important and often overlooked in terms of running. The prehab side of things absolutely changed the game for me. It made me run a pain-free marathon. It goes the same with your actual runs, depending on your goal. For me, I wanted to finish a marathon and I wanted to go at a decent pace. If we're working on speed, if you are working on endurance, if you're working on distance, all of those things play a big role, and that's why it's important to get a coach for you. But yeah, like anything, something that works for me may not work for you. It's important to look at the actual details in running, because the smallest things make a huge difference when it comes to running. Consider it. I do coach both men and women in their running journeys, anywhere from couch to 5K to half marathons to full marathons. So yeah, if you're interested, apply through the link below. It is time for me to run. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you have any specific questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to help, and I will talk to you guys soon.